promised myself I wouldn't make this a thing. Okay, here's the story. So, a very special person decided to ask me about the topic game after hearing it mentioned on a YouTube video on an unrelated Shin Megami Tensei game. Point is, they asked me if I was familiar with it. I was very familiar with it. And then they asked me 3 words that led to this inevitable train wreck. Is it fun? And I hesitated. So, this video started as an essay on why that question does not have a simple yes or no answer. And then the idiot in me chimed in. Hey, as long as we're here, why not talk about the story as well? And so, you now have to sit for an hour or so while I try to babble the words explaining how I feel about this game. So, a little admin. Operation Darkness was released on the Xbox 360 for some ungodly reason in 2008 by Success, and published in America by the ever-wonderful Atlas, who we must always remember gets off on our tears. Just a little foreshadowing. Now, let's start from the beginning. In El Alamein. Yeah, for those of you who haven't heard of this game, welcome to World War II. Sorry for not warning you. Okay. Just so we're all at a base level of knowledge here, allow me to take a moment to give a laughably short Cliff Notes version of one of the most important and devastating wars in history. Japan invades China because manifest destiny, not a joke, to which America objects, freezing Japan's assets. Germany remilitarizes and annexes Austria before invading Czechoslovakia and Poland, to which Britain and France object to the latter, declaring war. Germany invades Denmark and Norway, not in that order, then Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and France, like at once. Germany seems unstoppable as the British get their asses kicked off the continent and get beat up in North Africa. Germany invades the Soviet Union, making the largest mistake in the entire war. Japan attacks America, making the second largest mistake in the entire war. British brains, American brawn, and Soviet blood then spend the next 4 years grinding the two powers to a pulp. Oh, and a bear invades Italy or something, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. That is literally as short as I can make it, and I didn't even mention the Holocaust. Please go read about it or watch the World War II channel on YouTube. Back to our game, before you can say, oh great, another World War II shooter, we are introduced to the combat. Yeah! This is a tactical RPG! Bet you didn't see that coming! So yeah, this should be looking familiar if you played games like Fire Emblem, Disgaea, Final Fantasy Tactics, stuff like that. Movement is decided by a grid in your character's movement stat, which indicates how many of these squares he or she can traverse. Yes, there are female characters. In World War II. And not in Russia. Don't bother trying to square it, this game only makes less sense the deeper we go. Anyway, you have many actions in this combat system, and I will come back to the glaringly missing action in a bit. You can attack, you can pick up items off of corpses, which is how you get rare items in the game. You can use active skills, we'll get back to that. And then there's cover. Cover is not the cover you're thinking of. In this case, we have cover move, cover attack, and cover ambush. What cover means is, when you do something, I do something. So you could set movement to trigger for everyone at once when one person moves, or concentrate fire on an enemy to take them out in one turn. And then there's ambush. If an enemy is unlucky enough to enter your character's combat radius, they will be fired upon. To make sure this doesn't break the game like cover attack, you only do 1/3 of the normal damage you would do. The only problem with the cover system is that it eats your turn. You also have a map, which is very nice and very useful for getting your bearings because the game's camera will make you sick. The only problem is the game doesn't tell you how to access the map. Well, it does in the instruction manual, so if you bought a digital copy like I did, you're just screwed. Speaking of, the instruction booklet actually gives the game's secret away right inside of it, but the game is going to play its cards close to its chest for the first few missions, so we'll be coming back around to the gameplay in a little while. Now, in my description of gameplay, you probably noticed I didn't mention a way to brace against a wall or rock. That's because you can't! See, firing lines are all based on lines of sight, and if anything is blocking your path, you can't fire past it, even if you could be looming over it by simply standing up. This means that yes, that wall will protect you until you get flanked, but you can't fire around it without stepping onto the open and asking to absorb all of the bullets. And sure, this is fine when it's a Karabiner Octon 9 Kurz sniping your dumbass, but when tanks start strolling around lobbing 75mm HE at your face, you're gonna wish you had that wall helping you. That is, assuming it doesn't get destroyed. Did I mention that? Yeah, buildings are destructible. It also doesn't help that this game is balls to the wall frustrating. Every mission, it pulls the same goddamn trick of enemy reinforcements coming in. Like, here, take this mission. This is actually the mission from the demo in the game. This mission starts with 4 enemies. Then, they spot you, or you kill one, and they call in reinforcements. You kill a few, and more reinforcements show up on your flank. Then the goddamn Mark 4 and 5 show up. Every time you think the mission is almost over, more enemies show up to try and overwhelm you. Jesus Christ, where are the Germans getting all these men when they have 3 million tied up in Russia? You end up restarting missions over and over, just memorizing enemy spawn patterns just for that one good run. And this is where the game finally shows some mercy. See, when you quit out a mission or when you get game over because one of your party members died, the game sends you back as if you didn't enter the mission. No game over, no penalties, nothing like that. You even get to keep the cash, or rather, kill points, you get from killing enemies in the mission, allowing you to buy more stuff from the shop to maybe get over that hump you're stuck on. And boy, is there lots of stuff for you to play with. You have quite a variety of weapons, most of which are contemporary to World War II, at least the ones that aren't fictional, including an honest-to-God anti-tank rifle. How the hell did a Soviet anti-tank rifle make it to the Western Front? Why not give them a Panzerbüchse? Whatever. Point is, there are lots of weapons and they all have different effects. The automatic weapons tend to hit multiple squares, which is why it's better to take a shot than not, but the rifles compensate by generally being lighter and having more fire times to work with, along with sniper rifles having a longer range. Do be careful where you shoot though. Friendly fire is a thing in this game. Oh, you probably noticed the ammunition of the weapon, but what you didn't notice is that each weapon has a set amount of ammo that it fires for that turn, meaning that you actually have to do math to figure out how many times you can fire before you reload or dump the weapon. Shock horror! Oh, and spare clips are actually items you have to carry around. The ammo is universal, so that makes things easier, but it's still an item slot when you have a very limited capacity. 5 weapons, 5 items, 5 passive skills. You learn to make hard decisions on the battlefield, choosing which weapons to dump and which to take as you loot corpses for their shit to take back and add to your reserve. That's not counting the fact that your reserve is limited, too. But back to the weapons. On top of all of this, weapons have effective ranges that they work in, both as a minimum of squares and a maximum. This means that it's entirely possible that an enemy can be too close and you can't shoot them. This is why you carry a pistol or blade, because if they are that close to you, they're close enough to shank. This becomes a bit ridiculous when you get Jack, but I'll come back to that. The problem with this is you only get 5 weapon slots, and when enemies have rare shit, or just German shit that is often better than the stock stuff you get, MG34 is always better than a Brennan in this game, fight me, it can make it a little frustrating when you're trying to collect weapons for future fights, and the game smacks you with, you have too much stuff. Oh, did I mention that if you don't pick up items off of bodies before the last enemy is killed, they're gone forever? Yeah, there's no way to replace story missions, so if you missed a rare item, time to reload that save. Speaking of limits, while I said you have 5 skill slots, unless you feel like gambling with your crew's lives, you actually only have 4. See, after the first stage, you unlock auto restoration. This lets a character in critical condition automatically heal themselves with an item in their inventory. This happens even if they hit 0 HP. And if they go negative, the game hard caps at 0 HP, and then you heal however much the item heals you by. Yeah, this is a game changer and a lifesaver of a skill, and unless you want to take the risk, like a challenge, or you just didn't know, there is no reason to ever unequip this skill. Seriously, considering that you have no way to revive a character in the early stages of the game, you need this skill to just survive. You don't want to gamble with your crew's lives at this point because one of them dying is an automatic game over. Well, unless they're a recruit, but I'll come back to those. This all said, the game does understand catharsis. Battles are tense from start to finish, and seeing the enemies wind down and not have a reinforcement platoon move in is a breath of relief as you know the fight's finally beginning to wind down. And it never fails to make your butt cheeks clench to see a Panzerfaust being fired, only for you to breathe a sigh of relief when it flies over you and misses. It's also a game that simply doesn't pull any punches and will be more than happy to exploit a careless maneuver. If you like your tactical RPGs to require you to use good tactics, this game is definitely for you. And it's moments like that where you see the game really start to shine. It's a shame that the rest of the game is so frustrating. Anyway, I think I've bored you enough, so let's get on with the story. So where was I? Right, El Alamein. So, we assault a German camp. Well, that went well. We are then saved by special forces, but not before Jerry puts a bullet into Edward. Oh, our main character is named Edward Kyle, but you can name him whatever you so please. This is his buddy Jude Lancelot. Yes, that really is his name. You think that's a good joke, just wait. Anyway, with Edward dying, Major James Gallant decides to do a blood transfusion. In the middle of the desert! Amazingly, he doesn't die from this and makes a miraculously quick recovery. This is all viewed by a random girl who then reports back to Gallant about mysterious things, talking about how the transfusion wasn't rejected despite them having compatible blood types. Med students will be quick to point out that blood is more complicated than that, but you don't know what's coming next. I do. And then, they decide to transfer the two into their special SAS group.
The Wolf Pack.
Also, standard sexism because it is the 1940s.
My apologies, sir. I meant no disrespect. Just worried about joining a unit that has a woman in it.
Even their CO, a Colonel Starling, a very clear play on Lieutenant Colonel Sterling, the founder of SAS, doesn't know why a couple of Greens who lost their entire platoon on their first mission were requested. Oh, you probably got distracted by me saying Lieutenant wrong. It's because this is a British crew, so I figured I'd meet them where they are. Also, now we know where Yuri Lowenthal's British accent came from when he played Matt Miller.
That's lovely, but I feel it's time for me to move on.
He was practicing with Edward Kyle.
Didn't know I was so healthy. I thought I was a goner out there.
Now, what's really interesting about the game is that in between missions, we get cliff notes of what's actually happening during the war at this time in the Wolfpack's location. If you scrub out the bullshit about the Wolfpack, it's actually a very good cliff notes of the North African and Western European theaters of World War II. No, I'm actually serious. They do seem to treat the actual historic event with the respect it deserves.
Seized Tobruk on November 13th, 1943.
Aside from a few errors. I think you mean 1942. At least, this is respectful until you get to the third mission, where you head into Norway to infiltrate a heavy water plant. We head there after the last mission gave us a tip-off about Germany's nuclear program. Anywho, this is a clear replacement of the famous Operation Gunnerside, where a few troopers infiltrated a German-controlled hydroelectric plant to destroy their supply of heavy water, used in experimentations for an atom bomb. The operation famously achieved its goal with no casualties on either side.
Protect us, Lord.
Well, that's already out the window. Yeah, the Wolfpack doesn't know what subtle means. When they come in, you can expect a lot of damage. Then suddenly... Well, this game actually came out in Japan before Call of Duty World at War, so it technically did Nazi zombies before it was cool. Okay, it's about this point that the game starts slowly showing its hand, so let's head back to the gameplay. Yeah, those active skills I mentioned? It's magic, basically. These are skills that will nuke tanks, and they're indispensable if you want any chance of surviving the game. We got fireballs, we got claw slashes through the air, and we even have 2 werewolves. Yes, that Wolfpack name is very literal. I can already hear you asking, so I'll just spoil it now. The vampires are with the Germans. What's hilarious about the werewolf transformation is that it also increases your damage with guns. Don't know how that works. Anyway, these skills take MS to use, and it takes an ungodly amount of MS to keep using your skills. Also, using the werewolf transformation drains your MS each allied action, so you don't have a lot of time to go running around like you own the place. And yes, I said allied action. Not turn, not round, action. And it drains 2% of your character's MS, rounding up. So you have a known maximum of 50 actions without the intervention of items or damage. You recover MS from taking a hit. However, later in the game, you can basically just give your magic users the lightest weapons you'd feel comfortable with, and let them go nuts with MS skills to completely own the enemy. But then the game gives you those powers, and then makes you need them. The game only gets harder from here, and that's what your recruits are for. Yeah, you could just pull random soldiers with you onto the battlefield whenever you want. Don't know how they justify that. Look here, mate. You tell anyone what you saw, and there won't be enough of you left to go in a body bag. I am so sorry for that horrendous accent. Anyway, they are actually really useful as cannon fodder. See, most of the time you can't let cannon members of the Wolfpack die, so you can sacrifice random recruits to the meat grinder to get an idea of what the hell's happening. Especially if Herbert East is on the field. Yes, Herbert East. If you're wondering, this is a deliberate reference to Herbert West, the main character from The Reanimator. See, he's our only way to revive, so if he drops, you restart the mission. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. There's permadeath in this game. Yeah, if you finish a mission with a dead crew member, they are dead forever. So needless to say, you play very, very carefully with Edward, because if he drops, even if Herbert is on the field, you just get an instant game over. This is true for a few other characters, but that constantly changes as the missions scroll on. Oh, and speaking on dead characters, if a character would say something, but he's not in the picture for whatever reason, then the game recognizes that and shifts their line to someone else in the party. So, for example, normally Keith would have a line here.
That's enough, bloodsucker. I'm gonna send you to the same place as your beloved commander.
But he dropped, so James took up his line.
That's enough, fiend. I'm going to send you to your beloved commander.
Oh, shit. I didn't have a good segue for it, so I skipped over how the stats work. Anyway, attack is the multiplier to your weapon damage, so a 10 in attack means you multiply your weapon's damage by 10 to get the final damage output. Defense is how well you resist damage, speed is how quickly your turn comes up, hit is accuracy, luck is your chance to outright dodge an attack, weight is... I'll come back to that, and move is how many squares of movement you have. Now, weight is a fickle mistress. No one seems to really know how it precisely works. According to the instruction booklet, it offsets speed and affects how quickly your turn comes up. Higher weight, less turns. The problem is that nobody knows how. It seems to have a straight linear relationship, but then there's encumbrance rules, which turns the stat from blue to yellow then red. The thresholds appear to be at 5 and 10 times your speed, but I haven't had a chance to test this out, so don't quote me on it. Either way, you want to keep your weight low, but at the same time you need to carry around bazookas and Panzerfaust, so you'll inevitably have a higher weight than you'd like, and that doesn't even start to mention the problems with picking up weapons. Like, did you know that only Edward, Cynthia, female recruits, and one other character that we haven't met yet can pick up sniper rifles? Yeah, the other characters can't use them, so they won't even show up. This game is about 30% inventory management. You need to keep yourself low weight and speedy if you want any chance of getting a decent amount of turns compared to the hordes of Germans you will be fighting. Oh, and did I forget to mention that XP is directly tied to dealing damage? Yeah, if that character doesn't start killing enemies, he will not level up. This becomes a problem when your machine gunners can kill about 5 enemies at once and your snipers can reach out and touch someone from across the map. Thankfully, there are side missions you can do to level grind off of by repeating them over and over. Great for getting some quick levels to your cannon fodder. Back in Norway, before the waves of zombies, we get some character and backstory. So Edward and Jude lost their family in the Blitz, including Jude's sister, who also happened to be Edward's bride-to-be. This is why they absolutely hate Germans.
Those damn Krauts can all go to hell for all I care.
Also, Cordelia is worried she'll be hated. We'll come back to this. Back to the zombies, the game spawns an absolute horde of the bastards. And this is basically the point where you wake up and realize just how badly this game is going to rock you. By the way, if anyone that isn't a recruit drops at this point in the game, it's game over, start from 0. Seriously, the game spawns 32 of the bastards, I counted, and they love nothing more than just ganging up on the poor bastard they happen to stumble near. Yet, sometimes this game just grabs you by the balls and refuses to let go. Anything else I'm forgetting? Oh yeah, mines! See, strewn about the level are mines that, if your hapless party member happens to have a walk path that crosses the square, immediately auto-kills them if they don't have auto-restoration. The enemies can walk over them just fine, but if you cross them, boom! Now, this isn't to say that you're completely defenseless against them. If your cursor happens to cross over a spot with a mine, it'll pop up as if it were any enemy. You could even shoot it. And yes, you can use this to blow up your enemies. Once we finish the zombies, the crew rigs the place to blow, and James and Frank talk about grabbing a couple other members, currently known as
Jack and the Professor.
Again, the game is holding its cards very close to its chest. Also, apparently Jack was involved in an incident in the East End, which, Frank, how old are you? If Jack and the East End are ringing alarm bells for you, allow me to quell those thoughts. Yes, the game does go there. Also, can I just make a comment?
You're off your rocker, mate.
That line was directed at Herbert. Really, Jude? You have zombies teleporting in front of you. And Herbert is the madman. I mean, sure, he's babbling about controlling souls and reviving the dead, but context, man. Meanwhile, in Paris, our crew goes to visit La Resistance. It's led by this ball of adorbs, Leona. This is the point where I make the I want to take her home with me gag, but I'm pretty sure that would be 3 different forms of assault. This mission really only exists to introduce our adorable leader of her La Resistance still, and purple-skinned freak Alexander Vlado. He reeks of Blood Clan, apparently. Yeah, he's a vampire. He also has an assload of health. Jesus Christ, level 7 and he already has 5,000 HP? The Mark IV in Mission 2 only had 1,800. I mean, his health is limited, so it's possible to kill him, but you don't get anything out of it, and it takes a lot of resources to kill him. He doesn't even say anything different. Whether you kill him or just the zombies, he screws off, only to appear again when we perform our Normandy landing about 5 months early, chasing a spy. Oh, and Cordelia shares with Edward that she's half German, which... Okay, I know Edward has a hard-on for killing Germans, but why should that matter? So this is the point where we finally get to see our first werewolf out of Gallant, and he just runs roughshod through these dumbasses. Sorry, that was very American of me. Gallant runs up a bloody blinder of a cricket score on these guys. That was actually worse, that was offensively British. Look, he murderizes a bunch of Germans, you get the point. Edward and Jude, finding out about this for the first time, do not take it well. Edward apparently thinks he's now a monster because he's got werewolf blood in him. Dude, you can claw tanks in half now. How is that not awesome? You don't even have to transform, you can just do it. I'm sorry, am I just weird for thinking this is frickin' sweet? So anyway, Edward fools around with leaving the wolf pack, only to immediately come to his senses and rejoin. Which is good, because our next mission is coming up where we capture that spy from the last mission, though not without the enemy shooting sodding Panzerfaust at me. It turns out he's friggin' useless as a spy because Overlord goes off without too much of a hitch. I mean, sure, we land off course of our particular airborne drop, but it's not like we're walking into a trap. Well, there's a reason they call this the longest day. After that, we aren't out of the woods yet as... Oh my God! It's so adorable! I love it already! It's like a little mini tank. I want to ride in it. It's so cute! Who's a cute little death machine? You are! Yes, you are! You are significantly less cute. Meet your new nightmare. The Sonderkraftfahrzeug 303. Or the significantly less taxing for the English speaker, Goliath Tracked Mine. This thing is a mine that rolls up to your party members and blows them up. These things are packed with up to 100 kilos, that's about 220 Freedom units for Eagle Landers, of explosives. And the Germans actually use these. Why? Oh, if they roll up to you and you move away, they blow up. They'll basically one-shot your hapless party members, and if they don't have a restoration on, and why do they not, they are dead. Full stop. So yeah, you see them, and you learn quickly to have an existential dread come over you because they are now priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Not because there are 5 of them on the field, mind. That's just how important even one of these little bastards are. Oh, and before you get cheeky, they can run your ass over too, which is insta-death. Now, that said, there is a simple 2-step defense against them. Shoot it. Is it still moving? If yes, shoot it again. Repeat until it stops moving and blows up. Can I still ride one, though? Please? Also, can I just say this about the mission? Screw this mission! This is the mission where I got sick of the game's shit. I have 5 different takes of me trying to get this mission done, and then, on the one success, I had a massive audio sync issue that pushed the video backwards by several seconds. This would have been fine if I didn't save over that file before noticing it. And that's why you're about to see a discrepancy in the names. Before this point, I named the main character Maniak, but now I'm sick of this game's bullshit, so it's Fluffy Bunny from here on out. They call this mission the longest day, and they friggin' meant it. Let's go through it, shall we? First, you get assaulted by 2 tanks, with the Mark V being able to snipe you from across the map. They have so much health that you can't kill them with 1 rocket. You need at least 2, probably with the transformation. Then, soldiers spawn behind you and proceed to shred your hapless party. Then, because this game hasn't said screw you hard enough, vampires warp in, along with zombies, your new nightmare, and a 233, basically an 8-wheel with a cannon. While Carmilla, who I will get back to in just a moment, proceeds to magic the absolute hell out of your hapless party. Holy shit, why? Who tested this and said it was okay? I hate this mission so much! Oh, and Carmilla! Oh my god, Carmilla. There is a lot to unpack there by giving the female vampire that name. For those who don't know, Carmilla is the name of a pre-Dracula vampire novel about a woman who has a sapphic relationship with another woman. The Carmilla in this game also killed Cordelia's mother. Is your mother named Laura by chance, Cordelia? Because if it is, I quit. Seriously though, holy shit, these guys have done some decent research. It shows in the next mission, taking place just after the Battle of Ville Bocage. We see a Tiger, commanded by Michael Wittmann, a tank ace who was actually at the battle in question. Granted, he's in the wrong Tiger. The actual Tiger 231 was in the 102nd SS Heavy Panzer Battalion, not the 101st that was actually at the battle, but its little touches like hitting around the right number of tanks destroyed on the Allied side, the game says 28, while Wikipedia listed it as 23 to 27, leading me to say this game is actually trying. Oh, and then the zombies show up, and Wittmann screws off, actually offended that they're reviving the dead to fight. I'm sorry, but Wittmann was a member of the Waffen-SS. You mean to tell me he suddenly has standards? Hey, maybe he really did feel that way about dishonoring the dead. I don't know. He died shortly after this battle. But the SS were running the concentration camps, so they can all go to hell. This is also the mission where we first see Jack, and the game doesn't even try to hide the fact that he's Jack the Ripper. Yes, that Jack the Ripper. Gotta say, he's looking great for being at least 75 years old. But yeah, seeing that he's Jack the Ripper, he really, really likes knives. He's weird like that. He also has abilities and skills that explicitly require you to have bayonets and stuff. In other words, he should be completely useless, but his magic makes up for it by literally being able to lunge at an enemy from halfway across the map. Now, if only that didn't eat your turn. Anyway, next mission, we get roped into a secret plot to assassinate Hitler. Let's see, July of 1944, so that would be Operation Valkyrie, when some of Hitler's own generals said, "Screw you, Hitler," and tried to kill him with a suitcase bomb. Assuming Wikipedia is right on the issue, he survived because the blast was absorbed by the table his suitcase was hidden under, specifically behind a leg relative to Hitler. That was an high kilo of explosives. Anyway, we're here because we need to ensure the assassination does succeed, so... Wait, you're not actually gonna pull an Inglourious Bastards on us, are you? Well, let's kill him. Oh! Good! He's a mage! Why not? And so now we have to defend ourselves, and this mission is actually different. See, there's a timer up there in the corner that turns down as the round goes on. If you can survive 19 minutes, you immediately succeed the mission. Trust me though, this is a big ask. The enemies just do not stop coming, just wave after wave. Just when you've got the enemy down to a manageable amount, bam, new wave. It just eats your resources, especially when they start sniping you with bloody Panzerfausts. It gets to the point that the game itself backs down and just ends the mission once you've killed enough bad guys. Next mission takes us back to France, right in the middle of Operation Cobra. We cut off a group of Blood Clan, and then the freaking skeletons come out. Yes! Skeleton warriors from hell! They're basically immune to bullets and like to swarm and overpower the poor sod that happens to be in range. But they go down handily from explosives or melee weapons, so if you need a reason to carry that bayonet, here it is. The sick part is, these guys are probably the most dangerous enemies on the field, because those swords do way more damage than the guns. So when you're looting the bodies, make sure you don't leave one of those bastards alive. At least the guns have a chance to miss. Oh, and apparently one of these vampires recently came from the Eastern Front because he's carrying a freaking Papa Shaw. Well, time for Daddy to tuck some Nazis in for a night they won't wake up from. Papa Shaw translates to Daddy. Oh, and don't forget the tanks. Hope you didn't use your rockets on the skeletons.
You have no right to walk among the living again. Allow me to help you return to the abyss from which you came.
Oh, that must be the professor. She's very well dressed for being in an active combat zone. By the way, who are you?
Elisa Van Helsing.
Elisa Van what now?
Van Helsing. Van Helsing. Van Helsing.
It's about this point that I should mention that we've been getting little snippets of what is happening in Berlin, mainly between Himmler and Carmilla. Also, Jesus Christ, Heinrich, you look terrible. You got jaundice or something? Anyway, Carmilla is apparently plotting against the humans, and Himmler is terrified of these goddamn vampires. Also, apparently James and crew killed Count freaking Dracula back in the late 1800s, and they're still wondering how the hell there's Blood Clan running around. Speaking of, I guess Jack is the only one looking great for 80. Frank, Keith, and James all do as well. With that out of the way, we're making our way to Paris again to prevent
Coltons.
from burning it to the ground, when we run into the Ball of Adorbs again. But
It's a trap!
and we get surrounded by Mark 5s, magic users, and Carmilla. Oh yeah, did I mention that magic never misses? And if Leona dies, it's game over and she's AI controlled? Yeah, this mission is gonna ruin your day. And that's before the skeletons show up. At least the mission makes it up to you by giving the enemy a legendary Japanese blade. The hell is it doing here? This is, however, the mission that taught me that cover attack breaks the game wide open. So you live and learn. Still took me more than 12 whacks at this mission, 8 of which I have recorded. Remind me to do a Benny Hill compilation. Up! Looks like someone's about to die! Well, they're all instant fail conditions, but Edward is the main character, Jude is important to the plot, Cordelia will be our love interest, and James is the CL, so by process of elimination...
Leona!
No! Not the Ball of Adorbs! Now, Jude actually takes this development terribly, and I don't really know why. You two have met Olive twice. My headcanon is he's overlaid his sister onto Leona, and is therefore repeating her death in the Blitz in his mind. I mean, his dialogue kinda shows in hindsight that he's smitten with her and wants to protect her.
This is going to be dangerous, Leona. You should stay here. Don't blame yourself, Leona. We've been in worse before. Stay close to me, and you'll be safe.
But, much like Data Squad with Daemon, this hasn't gotten a chance to develop to the point it needs to be at. And when did we learn she was 17? I mean, I get this is supposed to be a dramatic moment and I'm kind of ruining it, but these are the thoughts that were flowing through my mind while Jude is crying his eyes out.
Stay with me! Why? Why her?
Speaking of crying, if you thought the last mission was bad, have I got some bad news for you? This is the game's way of adding difficulty, basically. Spawning you in close quarters with more and more enemies surrounding you, making sure to give them as many automatic weapons and explosives as possible, on top of making the enemies as fast as possible. Seriously, I have Cordelia at like 35 weight, and she doesn't get turned until deep into the turn order. It doesn't help when Alexander and Camilla can nuke you through walls, and when Lewis joins the chaos, he's in instant fail condition because why not? It's at this point that I'd like to mention that there's an achievement for beating the game in less than 35 hours. Good luck with that! Oh yeah, I didn't mention Alexander for a while. Last we saw him, he was being tossed and charbroiled, but he's looking alright, all things considered. Anyway, plans are afoot to take down the wolf pack, and the Germans have finished the atom bomb? And they're gonna launch it in a V2? Okay, I know the Nazis have access to magic and vampires, but how? The whole program was scrapped by the end of 1942 in our world, so what the hell is going on? And let's just say they've been working on it in an even deeper secret than they already were. Where in the hell did they get the production capacity? By Albert Speer's own memoirs, which Wikipedia cites but the wrong frickin' page, they wouldn't have been ready until at least 1947, and that's if they throw everything at it. Who was Albert Speer? Just the Minister of Armaments and War Production. He probably knows what he's talking about when it comes to this. So what the hell do the Nazis have right now that I don't know about? What, is it a dragon? Anyway, before that, plot is afoot. Carmilla and Alexander set up a trap for the wolf pack and kidnap Jude, but not before making sure to give him a kiss on the neck. They specifically target him because he's just a regular dude with no powers. Poor Jude. At least the game was nice enough to give him back his stuff when he left, but no time to dwell on it, we got a nuke to disable, and holy shit, I'm already scared. Remember the timer from Mission 9? Yeah, this mission has a timer, but this time you auto-fail if it runs out. just to terrify you, the game sets that timer at 2.5 minutes. Oh, and allow me to quell those obvious thoughts right now. No, killing enemies doesn't extend the timer, nor does destroying parts of the train, and the game does not kid with that timer. Once it hits 0, you auto-fail, so you do not have time to dick around. Destroy the train engine, or you lose. Now, once you destroy the train engine, the mission becomes a standard kill-em-all mission without a timer. Oh, and Royal Tigers! No! Also, why are you calling them Tiger 2? British documentation called them Royal Tiger. That's why I called the Panzer IV Mark IV, damn it! Ugh, you ruined everything! I'll never be historical enough at this rate! Anyway, more plot is afoot. Turns out there are 2 nukes, and we've only stopped 1. Again, how the hell did Germany manage to make not just 1 but 2 nukes? Well, doesn't matter now. Camilla tells us that if we want to see Jude again, we need to find that second bomb and meet them there. Okay. I mean, I know it's gonna be a trap, but when did you turn into a Bond villain? And then, as the joke goes, they know we know, and we know they know that we know. Anyway, point is, our team walks right into it, and they bring a special guest.
Jude, come!
Impossible. This can't be happening.
My Lord Alexander, I am at your command, Master.
Whoo, daddy! I'm gonna enjoy killing you, Alexander. It's probably about this point that I should go on to the characters of Edward and Jude. Edward and Jude are childhood friends and survived the Blitz together when it took their families. And the game has taken the time to show that they really are pals. They try to comfort each other, they look out for each other, they depend on each other. So you really have to feel for Edward when his best friend for an entire lifetime is looking at him with a straight face, not remembering a single damn thing. Legitimately, it changed the way I approached this mission. I didn't want to hit Jude, because it didn't feel right. I put myself in Edward's shoes, and I really did feel that bond he had with Jude. The problem with that is that he's a super unit, and now you have 3 of the crazy bastards running around the battlefield, absolutely nuking your hapless party. This is on top of the heavy outnumbering, the magic users, the tanks, and oh yeah, the timer that starts at 3.5 minutes. Simply put, you are throwing Keith's life away thanks to this objective. Why Keith? Because he can turn into a werewolf, giving him 170% to his movement stat, meaning he's got the best range out of everyone. Throw him forward, hope he doesn't get killed, hit the warhead, and pray to whatever deity you so choose you can get him out. James could also do it, but he's in instant fail condition, so Keith becomes your meat shield. Oh, and fun fact, Carmilla and Jude don't run when you kill all the enemies, which is not how it worked up until this point. So yeah, that bit about me not wanting to hurt Jude? Yeah, game gives me no choice. In a fitting statement of their friendship, Edward makes the decision that if it comes down to them having to kill Jude, he should be the one to do it, because he thinks Jude would want it that way. Oh, and Germany somehow magically has a nuclear weapons production plant. Sure, why not? It's not like we're a few months away from the Battle of the Bulge, aka Germany's getting seriously desperate, so how about we do the same thing we did 4 years ago and see if it works again? Oh, and did I mention that Germany's been in the middle of a massive energy crisis at this time, meaning that even the power to get the production running is in high demand? Are you starting to see why this little plot twist is madness? Speaking of madness, we're in Oosterbeek now, participating in...
Operation Market Garden.
Oh no. This mission is nonsense because it's just the usual defend against waves without the clock, but this time it's in what should be a hopeless situation. And then you're just out of there when you kill about 40 dudes. Just poof, gone. Here's what really happened. Hope you like your new anti-tank rifle. Which makes it especially confusing because there is actually important plot to be had. We get backstory and James is fighting this. See, back before the First World War, the Fang and Blood clans would skirmish, but things were mostly in balance. And then, the Blood clan started brainwashing humans into their servants and slowly perverted the world around them. The Fang clan didn't even notice this until a surprise attack killed a lot of their members, including James's sister, who was Keith's mother. They then led a crack team of humans and werewolves to assault Dracula, including Dr. Jekyll of all damn people, where they slew the Count, but not without James having to kill his friend, Keith's father. If I need to explain why he emphasizes this point, you are either not paying attention or you do not understand the fundamentals of storytelling. Also, I'm going to assume from here that werewolves are basically immortal, as are the people they change with their blood. So Edward's going to have a long life ahead of him. Might make for an interesting fanfic. Just throwing the idea out there. Now, to Amberloo? Wait, no, we can't be there. We still have another 10 missions after this one.
The Battle of the Bulge.
Well, anyway, Jude comes back to taunt us, but other than that, it's a straightforward mission. At least, it would be if the second wave didn't spawn literally right next to me. Yeah, I took a second swing at this mission for exactly that reason. You see what I mean with this game pulling the same cheap trick on you? Speaking of cheap tricks, on the way to relieve Bastogne, we run into these things. These are the Hellport. They're also called Panzer Demons, and they are a big old bucket of what even is. We officially have mini-mecha in this game. We have gone full jetpack Hitler. And no, they're not just suits of armor, but straight up cyborgs. Sure, why not? It's only the 1940s. Now, you might think I'm complaining about going full jetpack Hitler. I'm not. These guys actually look really badass. My question, though, is what are you doing in my gothic horror World War II setting? This wouldn't be out of place in Wolfenstein, but here, mixing up with zombies, vampires, werewolves, and mages, it just doesn't mesh is all. Anyway, standard mission again, murder of the Panzer Demons, then comes in reinforcements behind you, and just as you're about to get worn out, you finally get to return the favor after all this time with your own cavalry. Now, if only my AI reinforcements would stop firing rifles at the tanks. 2/3 of the way through. Continuing to Bastogne, we run into a new surprise, a secret character. Yeah, see, we run into Max Newman here. If you happen to damage him with Edward, he screws off, never to be seen again until 2 missions later when you see him again, and if you don't kill him then, he joins your team. Aside from that, it's a standard mission with the added familiarity of spawning in completely surrounded. Oh, and Jude, that too. But enough of that, plot is afoot. Looks like Vlado and Carmilla have other plans relative to their German hosts, and Jude is just another pawn to them to be played and tossed away on a whim. Anyway, this is Jude's last chance to Alexander, and Jesus Christ! This shit happens all the goddamn time playing this game. It just spawns you in the worst position, bunched up, and makes you wait as the enemy gets dozens of turns before you even get a chance to act. It's basically the game taking your healing items before you even get to have any say. I have repeatedly reset missions like this, just hoping to get a start state where a cheeky tank didn't snipe me from the other side of the map. Oh, and it gets better, because this mission is specifically rigged so that almost none of the enemies have healing items to loot. Someone is going to die this mission, whether you like it or not. Just accept it and hope it's not someone useful. Don't be like me. Don't keep bashing your head against the wall until something breaks. Speaking of breaking, Jude ends up getting killed for a bullshit reason, being shot in the gut in a struggle after getting repeatedly nuked by my party. And now that he's on the brink of death, the spell mind controlling Jude has finally broken. Wait, did I not mention that? Yeah, Alexander brainwashed Jude into believing he's actually a German soldier. But now, Jude's back, but he's soon gone.
Say hi to Alicia and Leona for you. I'm so scared.
This pretty much snaps the last bit of sense Edward has like a twig, and he turns into Rambo for the next mission, running off like an idiot. But before that, let's get back to Jude's death. This is actually a really good scene. No, I'm being serious. Not because it's emotional, although the VAs clearly have their hearts in it. Rather, I like it because it's a clear echo of Edward's near-death experience at the start of the game. Jude even references that he's a different blood type, so the transfusion trick won't work, ignoring the fact that Keith is there and he might have a different blood type and... But the question I want to ask is this. Does Jude have to die? One of the most important things you can learn when writing a story, in my opinion, is to listen to what your story is telling you. Sometimes, for the sake of the story, something bad has to happen. You have to break a character, you have to hurt a character. Sometimes, you have to kill a character. I'm not going to answer this question for you, but I want you to keep that question in mind going forward. For the sake of the story, does Jude have to die? Now, back to Mission 21. Assuming you spared Max, we get a little speculation about how these mecha came to be. Dead bodies and black magic. Sounds like a hell of a black metal song right there. Like I mentioned before, he joins your team, much to Edward's chagrin, and he makes a good meat shield given his relative immunity to standard gunfire and his starting health pool of 17,000. Yeah, see, by this point in the game, your health pools are so absolutely ridiculous you can just tank multiple hits. Werewolves are even more absurd. They can take an 88mm to the face and barely flinch. We started this game at around 400 or 500 HP. Right now, half of my guys are over 10k at around level 30. And if you really want to crack insane health pools, just pop on HP boost as a passive and watch your health pool climb to heights you could only dream of in other RPGs. On to Mission 22. Be prepared to hear me pissed off. Mission 22 is presented as a stealth mission. What? Oh my god, there is a story to this one. So, if you screw up the stealth portion, an ungodly number of reinforcements come out to murder you. If you get shot at by an enemy, an ungodly number of reinforcements come out to murder you. If you kill an enemy, an ungodly amount of reinforcements come out to murder you. If you move too close, an ungodly number... Are you starting to notice a pattern? This is actually the first mission I've run into that is literally impossible to complete in the presented fashion. See, if you don't have people at a high enough speed, this mission is actually completely impossible to do stealth, because you have to use explosives to destroy the towers, and there's one little rat bastard that's close enough to shoot you immediately, and he's apparently been taking his meth, because he has a priority in turns to the point that only your fastest characters can do anything about it. You need at least a Panzerfaust 60 to get the range necessary to hit the second search tower, and nothing else will do it. If Van Helsing has a level 3 speed boost and is level 34, even if you equip her with nothing but that Panzerfaust, she is still not fast enough to outspeed the bastard. I actually had to go out and level grind to have a chance at completing the mission in the intended fashion, and you can bet that defenestrated my chance of beating the game in under 35 hours. And even then, I could only get it done by turning her into a suicide charger. And I still ended up getting caught anyway! Yeah, despite destroying the 2 search towers like I was told to do, I still set off an alarm. You cannot tell me this mission is not impossible to stealth. I actually tried, goddammit. The only consolation you get for being spotted is a cutscene that plays where a scientist that spawns with the enemy sees Frank, and we learn he's actually Frankenstein's monster. But at the end of it all I can say is fuck this mission.
If that's the way you see it, then I can't change your mind.
Used my one F-bomb too soon, it seems. You know, when I made that comment about the nukes being a dragon, I was joking! But back with the plot, turns out that Vlado and Carmilla's plans are coming to fruition. It looks like they needed a bunch of human souls so that they could revive Dracula! Cue evil laughter. Now that the war is in the last phase, their preparations are almost complete. Well, I already know who my final boss is then. Also, for the sake of completeness, Edward has an encounter with a young German child that doesn't end with him becoming paste. And he begins to realize that Germans are human too, with all the emotions he was caught up in finally able to release their hold on him. I basically wanted to make comment of that resolution to his character arc because it's more than what friggin' Data Squad did. Now, back to the dragon. Oh sweet Jesus, the dragon. Or rather, dragons, as in 2 of them. So, this mission can go straight to hell. Carmilla, a bunch of skeletons, and these 2 big boys are out for your blood, and these dragons can straight nuke you from across the map. They'll use the NPC characters as target practice until you get enough guys in range of their kill laser. Oh, and if you're thinking of closing in and murdering them with Keith's modified explosives, don't. The dragons know magic and will not hesitate to use it. Anyway, here is the mission where Carmilla dies, but not before letting slip that Alexander has plans for the world at large. Upon learning this, it's decided, we're going to kill Hitler! To Berlin! Welcome to the point of no return. Woe betide all those who enter without preparation. Oh yeah, this game expects you to do 3 missions back to back without any chance to restock for ammo or dropping weapons. Make sure you make an alternate save so you don't get stuck in an unwinnable state. Actually, while Mission 24 is custom designed to eat your rockets, Mission 25 is a breath of fresh air where the only requirement is to beat Himmler. Oh yeah, we haven't heard from him in a while. Last we saw, he was pissing his pants over the requests the vampires were giving, which raises the questions of why there are vampires in his desertion squad. He also reveals that Hitler was able to seize power thanks to finding the Spear of Longinus. Now, my Catholic saints and relics knowledge are not up to snuff these days, so I had to look it up. It's the lance that Jesus was stabbed with by some random soldier who has since become known as Longinus. Saint Longinus, actually. Sure, why not? There's probably something that I'm missing and I don't really care right now. Point is, Christian Relic let Crazy Man take over Germany. Real talk, this is actually related to the long-standing accusation that the Nazis were obsessed with the occult and things of that nature, and tracking down this exact relic relationship brings me to a book called The Spear of Destiny by Trevor Ravenscroft. That, however, is way outside my scope for this rant. I'll just let it be known that this is the only source for this claim, and that's always a good sign for the veracity of a claim. After Himmler surrenders, like the coward he is, he gets fitted with a restraining belt that will split him in two if he ever uses magic again. He commits suicide by cyanide less than a month later. On to Hitler's bunker. We catch him off guard, and he proceeds to nuke the absolute hell out of us. Seriously, Muller and Oscar just keep blinding and poisoning my hapless party. And then Hitler has a second phase, where he summons a dragon that murders everything on the field with its vortex. And you know what? I almost beat it. I almost had it. I killed Hitler a second time, and then Herbert died. Restart that mission, yo. The second time went much smoother, however. Hitler is dead, we have a narration of what goes down, and we finally make it. Oh yeah, that. So, starting on Mission 13, a specified enemy has been carrying a key item called a Valhalla report page. There are 12 pages, so missions 13 through 24, you gotta murder a Nazi and search his body for papers. Assuming you get all 12, you unlock the extra dungeon, the Eagle's Nest. I will not be covering that in this rant. That will be for me to chew on over time. Final mission! So we're chasing Muller and Oscar so that they can pay for their crimes. Kill them, and Vlado shows up too. Oh my god. Don't be intimidated by this. Charge Vlado to make them all drop dead. Then, because final boss...
Infinite gods of the dark, I offer up my own soul if you grant my wish. Reshape the bodies of me and my legion and destroy my enemies!
Me and my big mouth. Thankfully, he's one enemy, and as long as you still have ways of dealing more than 10k damage consistently, this big guy will fall, and you'll get the end cutscene. The group resolves to eliminate the Blood Clan in order to save the world. Also, family. We then leave off on an epilogue of them invading a Nazi base to find a clone of Hitler being grown, before fade to black. The game's over! Woo! That was a rough ride. So, at the end of all this, how do I feel about Operation Darkness? Well, I actually really like it. I'm just not sure if it's fun. The gameplay is frustrating, underpolished, and filled with design decisions that are just baffling at times. Namely, the lack of a cover system like, XCOM, means playing the game is very difficult to adapt to. But I still admire the game in a way. This is not simply a bad game. It's just very, very rough. That's why I can honestly say I do like the game. I can see where the game has its faults, but it's clear that its heart is in the right place, which is more than I can say about friggin' Data Squad. It also helps that the game is never really boring. World War II and magic is a natural combination, and the idea of being able to turn your characters into werewolves and fight vampires and shit is really cool. The story is passable, if not exactly detailed, but that's a natural consequence of it being broken into missions spread out over 3 years of in-game time. The characters have their qualities, and they all feel distinct and colorful, even if the backing cast doesn't really get much screen time. And when you scrub away the fantastic elements, you actually have a competent summary of its small part in the war. It's honestly trying to be a good game. It just stumbles and falls about midway into the race. If someone likes a development challenge, I would say remake this game, but with XCOM's battle system. Or, just mod XCOM, I guess. This game came out before the XCOM reboot, so it didn't really get the chance it deserved, in my mind. Shame that success seems like a dead developer at this point. And now that it looks like this is going to be a thing I do, it's time I diversify. There's another subject of media I'd love to cover, and I know exactly where I want to start. This is Maniak Kid 25, signing out.